Physically, I was doing fine, but after I delivered, I ended up with a brain hemorrhage. That's why I'm telling you, I had everything. Yet it happened to me and it happened so bad. Like, poop, eat, sleep, repeat. That's the pattern. So, and it's exhausting. They helped me to the best of their capacity, but they could not help me the way I needed it. My only goal is to make maternal mental health screening mandatory in India. Hi everyone, I am Shreya Mitra. I am from Jamshedpur. I am a lawyer by profession, but my main passion lies in content creation, talking about maternal mental health, gentle parenting, mostly creating awareness on postpartum challenges and how mental health is a big factor that really needs attention around then.
So we know that you are a postpartum mental health educator. So is that your role, or do you have any other career roles?
Yeah, so basically, I am a content creator. That's my first role. I blog about maternal mental health, etc. And I've always, with my after my experience with postpartum depression and then growing this blog, being able to connect with so many other moms, I really wanted to be able to help others. But the lack of knowledge about mental health, because you can't, your experience is not everyone else's experience. So I wanted to pursue a degree in psychology to do it professionally, and I enrolled for a post graduation course, but it's not. I'm still enrolled, but it's not working out. So I did a couple of other courses to improve my knowledge to be able to help other moms who are contacting me. So that's how I did a post graduation diploma. I've undergone several trainings. I volunteer at Suicide Helpline here. So that's how I have focused more on educating, coaching women to understand when their mental health is deteriorating, to catch those symptoms early, to basically be able to coach, educate families into understanding that postpartum depression or postpartum mood swings is not just an excuse and not a Western influence. It's for real.
Yeah.
And it's basically like that. So my blog is mostly about educating the masses, but I do workshops where especially the self-care workshop, which is like a big hit with moms and families, where we do a lot of self-work. And I do have a team of professionals, so people who need psychiatric or therapy, psychiatric help, or requires therapy, I refer them to those professionals. Yeah.
How did your journey as a mental health educator started? What was your personal experience behind this endeavor?
So I fell pregnant in 2016, and while I was pregnant, it was a very I would say physically I was doing absolutely all right, but mentally I was a wreck because my grandmom passed away the month I got pregnant. My mom got diagnosed with cancer the next month. My husband had dengue. My child got diagnosed with club feet. So every month, like in those 9 months, every month something or the other was happening. But my doctor kept counseling me that situations are out of your hand, but the only thing you can focus on is your appetite and your movement. Do that, rest, everything will fall into place. So I focused on all of that, and so that's why physically I was doing fine, but after I delivered, I ended up with a brain hemorrhage, and then I had to leave my child in Jamshedpur and travel to Chennai for treatment. And it was a narrow escape, but I recovered fully. I came back, but after I came back, I wasn't normal anymore. Like, I started experiencing what I now know is an anxiety attack. I was going through a lot of anger. Postpartum anger is what now I know what it is. And headaches. I had lost 11 kgs in a year. I stopped eating. I couldn't sleep at night, but the most difficult part was waking up every morning and getting through the day. I mean, I had no energy, like, or willingness to get through it. Like, it just felt like everyone was better off without me, and I wasn't required. There was this constant feeling there, but at the same time, my mom was recovering from cancer, my child had club feet. So, those illnesses were again giving me a purpose, you've got to get through this. But that carried on for a long time until I saw my relationships around me were like, crashing down. And I knew I had become a monster then. Like today, when I look back at those days and who I became, it feels like I was possessed, to be very honest. So later on, it took me a lot of time to get diagnosed with depression because doctors here were very dismissive. They kept saying I was too young to have PPD. I mean, I have gone to doctors with a pulse rate of 120, 115 because I used to get very anxious. I have gone through several CT scans, ECGs, everything, but I was only put on gastric medication. I requested them for a screening, of course EPDA screening. I don't know if they even know of it, but they were like, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता, वो अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगा, those kind of things. So finally I reached out to my neurologist who diagnosed with me with PPD, and then I was put on medication. I took therapy and gradually I recovered. But the reason why I started this blog was I was the youngest in my youngest se bhi zyada, I would say I was the first in my friend circle to get married, have a child. So on the outside it looked like she was having the best life, but in like I knew what I was going through, and this perception that people had that when you become a mom everything is so hunky glory and you fall in love with your child immediately. It's not true. And the image that the society and movies and ads have created, it just becomes too much because you're constantly comparing yourself ki, why am I not feeling like that, why is it not happening, especially these newborn photo shoots where everything looks picture perfect but you don't feel anything like that. So I was like, okay, now people need to know this. So that's how I just started with one post on my private profile, and everyone was shocked that how could this happen, like you had the perfect life, you had support, you have fantastic in-laws, you're settled, there's no problem, why did you have it? But I did have it. So that's when I started my blog, to educate everybody.
We can also see that more and more people are coming out on their social media profiles talking about it.
I think mental health awareness became a thing post-COVID. The taboo that I thought was there 6 to 7 years ago is not the same. It's there. Like I see, people are okay to talk about it, but people are not okay to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. That is still there. Because, I get these DMs and I need help and this is what's happening to me. And I try referring them to psychologists, but they're like, no, can I talk to you? Just can I speak to you? I'll just tell my husband that, I'm talking to a blogger. I don't want to talk to a therapist. So that stigma is still there. But people are, it's going to be a long process. It won't happen overnight.
You just shared your personal experience with such a malady, and could you care to explain a little bit more about the major signs and symptoms a person might find herself in during this malady?
So see, post your delivery, there are a lot of hormonal fluctuations in your body. There is a major change in your routine as well, right? So a lot of this cause, I would say, mood swings and, you're not the same. But this should go away in 2 weeks. Normally 2 to 3 weeks, baby blues go away by itself. But if it is taking longer and, you find yourself, resenting your husband, not being able to bond with your child, there is lack of sleep is there. But if you find yourself, losing your appetite or binge eating or, just slowly starting to disconnect, you're not feeling very happy, you should start getting screened for PPD. You can basically reach out to a gynecologist or a psychiatrist and, explain. And it's the EPD screening that they call it, Edinburgh Postnatal Scale Depression. And based on that and your clinical and symptoms, etc., they basically diagnose you. There are other things as well, like, postpartum anxiety, postpartum psychosis. There are a lot of perinatal mood disorders that exist. So I would say if you are suffering from anything that makes it difficult for you to function, that is affecting relationships around you and is lasting over 2 weeks, it's very important you get it checked and find out. See, the problem that arises is all these symptoms it's an invisible disease, right? The only way it comes out is in form of behavior. So it's very difficult to place a finger as to what is for real and what is, circumstantial or behavioral. But instead of self analyzing it, it's better you reach out to a professional who are trained, who are informed to differentiate between that.
A normal young mother, identifying the symptoms would be the first step, I guess. Then how should they go about with the further process, like getting diagnosed and seeking the help?
Mental health professionals are there everywhere. Like, you have these online websites. You no longer have to wait. See, for me, the problem was my in-laws are very well known in the city that we live in. So I was also very hesitant कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, उनको पता चलेगा तो क्या होगा, etc. But what I am today was not what I was 7 years ago. So only when I got treated and I could see a change in my behaviors when I opened up to everybody, and everyone was okay. So I'm sorry to say, but I can't find a psychiatrist who I trust here. I didn't even know I had to go to a psychiatrist. I was constantly going to a physician and a gynecologist. So for me, it was that, but my neurologist was a safe space for me, a non-judgmental space. So I went to, that's the reason I reached out there. But for any other parent, I would say that if, you're facing this, reach out to a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist, not like, a coach or etc. Not even to people like me who are educators. Like, even if I'm trained in screening, I can screen you, tell you, yeah, you're at risk, and that's where it ends. I shouldn't be doing anything more. But it's important you reach out to a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. These are the two places you reach out to. There are several resources online. I've also been working on a database, so I usually ask parents to reach out to me, and based on the city, I find them a therapist and I give it to them.
How these personal experiences have actually promoted and helped you in formulating your own parenting psychology that you have further elaborated and promoted through your social media platforms?
I think what it has done is made me a better person. Made me change a lot of my own behavior, because सब कुछ depression नहीं होता है. A lot of things that you face in your childhood comes back after you become a mom, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's, childhood trauma. They find very funny ways of coming up. So, that also affects your behavior along with your, whatever your mental illness is there. So I think my experience with postpartum depression has made me a very grateful person today. Like today, and because I had, journaling was a part of therapy that I had to follow. When I began, I had nothing to be grateful for. But in the due course of time, I remember we had a breakthrough in therapy where I was like, I'm so glad the AC in my car is working. I'm so glad that, I have places where there are trees around. So, I became very, very grateful over a period of time. When people react, I kind of, it's become, empathy has become my, I would say, my next nature. And I think this all happened because of depression. It was not that I was an unkind person or I was an ungrateful person, but I see life very, very differently today. I understand where people's reactions are coming from, and that has really helped my relationships thrive with people around. And I think that's where I feel personally that I've been in a better place to help people also, which is why I joined the suicide prevention helpline also, because there also those trainings basically make you focus on empathy and no judgment. So that really helps. So I think my own experience has helped me gain a lot of knowledge on how mental health can, a person whose mental health is deteriorating can impact their behavior. The courses I did gave me a vast exposure to mental health illnesses other than PPD, which was my only niche, I would say, back then. I have learned about a lot of therapies which I can't practice as a professional, but in my day-to-day life, I apply them. In my workshops, I try and educate people on those lines. So I think that is how it has helped. I remember sharing these on my stories that, I would really wanted to be a psychologist. I wish I could help. And people always told me that, you will find a way to help, just being there and listening. So upgrading my skills has put me in a better place today with my experience, because I now know, it's one thing to read, which is also required, of course, but once you experience it, you relate to it.
Yeah, right.
Like, how do I put it? For example, if you say, let's take Virat Kohli, for example, he going through, a low in his life. I could empathize with him, but the way a sports psychologist would relate to what missing a catch is or not scoring a century is, it's different. There is a difference. So I think that perspective is there because of my own experience. I'm glad it happened. Like today, 7 years down the line, I would say I'm glad it happened.
So I think we also, as a client or someone on the other side, we value suggestions or opinions from someone who has gone through the same experience. We expect that empathy and understanding. Also, I would like to ask you if postpartum depression is any way connected to someone's past history of depression, or does it influence, or are there totally different factors that can trigger PPD?
PPD can be triggered. You can be at risk for postpartum depression if you've had history of depression, if you've had history of any mental illnesses, if you've had a traumatic childhood, if your relationships around you are not good, if you're in an abusive relationship, if you have other health factors as well. So that can be a reason. But a lot of people without any history also get it. I've been the healthiest as one could have been. I had like no symptoms of mental health. I was the happiest person around and I felt internally happy. So, it still happened to me. Any big changes in your life during your pregnancy, like moving houses or, family, someone dying, can put you at risk for PPD.
You have been an influencer for a few years. How did it influence you as a person?
See, it was not like a planned thing. When I started this page, I wasn't even thinking of blogging. It was just like, people have to know that I didn't have that perfect life, that this occurs and this is for real. And with that sharing experience, if you go back to my 2019, 2020 posts, I used to do a lot of these mental health story campaigns, where I would share stories with moms. And it was just to create awareness, and then slowly I realized that okay, this can be like a profession. So I started working around it, like how content creation works. I don't like to use the word influencer for myself because God knows who I'm influencing or whatever, but I basically work around it because I think that's my purpose in life. If you ask me what do I want in life with or why am I doing this, it's for two basic reasons. जो मेरे साथ हुआ है वो किसी के साथ ना हो. Whatever's happened to me, I don't want it to happen to anyone. And if I can give them that information that can help them take help the right way, I want to do that. 2, making maternal mental health screening mandatory in India.
During this period of PPD, you have mentioned that the mother might have issues bonding with the child. So how does it affect the relationship with the child? And how do you come out of it?
For a lot of people, they don't come out of it. I know of several moms who've not been able to. One particular mom whose suicide call I had to attend, who's okay, but she just couldn't bond with the baby for 6-7 months. And one fine day, she was like, "I'm done with this. I have to kill the baby and I have to kill myself so that no one blames me and I can't take this anymore." So some people reach that phase also. I was one of them who could not bond with my child, and it just felt like purposeless and meaningless and not happy, like not something that was giving me satisfaction. It just felt exhausting. But with treatment it got better. There are some people who feel like this and then it gets better. But the information that I want to give out here is, first 3 months it's very hard no matter what you do. Starting from, post that, from the 4th month onwards, I think they start cooing and they start laughing, and then it gets interesting, because otherwise newborn just poop, eat, sleep, repeat. That's the pattern. So, and it's exhausting. Every 2 hours you're waking up, feeding, keep cleaning. You don't even get to bathe properly, and then you're in pain. So naturally that doesn't come. But it gets better. 2 ways to you can naturally help yourself recover from this phase is what they say, skin to skin touch, something I had no idea about and I didn't do it, or the kangaroo touch. That really helps. It creates oxytocin, so increases that bonding. And the other is spend time away from the baby. When the child is sleeping or etc., hand the child over to someone else and go out in fresh air, breathe in fresh air, soak in the morning sun, go for a walk, listen to music, call a friend over for coffee, do that and reduce visitors. So, there are ways where you can thrive if you know them.
I think in that case, it's also very important to get the support of the family, to have that.
Very, the support of your family makes a huge difference. If you have, I mean, that's what, people don't realize that initial months childcare needs support. Like,
Yeah.
it is required. But then there are families where they want the mother to cook, clean, do everything. Husbands are like, my job of being a parent is done. I don't have anything more to do. So all that makes it even harder. So, I had ample support. But with my postpartum depression, I think I didn't get the help I needed. They helped me to the best of their capacity, but they could not help me the way I needed it. One was because I didn't know I was suffering from postpartum depression. We had no clue about the mental health aspect part, and they didn't know how to help. I mean, even if they wanted to help me, they couldn't have.
How a family should support a person with PPD?
First point, if they know it's postpartum depression, my case, nobody knew, including me, that I was having. We didn't even hear of the term PPD. So if the family knows the person has PPD, first is to book an appointment with a psychiatrist or a therapist. Two, making sure the mother gets time to, go outside in open air, drink enough water, soak in the morning sun. Three, gets some sleep. Afternoon, if the person can get a little bit of sleep, it's easier for the person to pull through at night. So I would say these are few ways they can, and normalizing it, not judging the mother that पागल है, ऐसा तो हमारे जमाने में नहीं होता था, हमने इतने बच्चे बड़े किए हैं, with one you're behaving like this. Avoid conversations like that and reduce visitors.
So is it like taking their partner or family member to therapy as well? Is that required?
Usually that's not how it works. They usually start with the mother only, unless it's couple therapy where it works differently. But mostly, yeah, take the mother, because she needs to be told, like, just being told that it's not you, it's a disease, or just being told that ठीक हो जाता है. It's very, very like soul satisfying at that point of time. Because when my therapist told me that that you will not believe it today, but 5 years down the line you will laugh at yourself and this will get better, I told that you're lying. It can't be. 8 months I didn't feel one day like that, so it cannot be. But here I am today, so grateful that I had it. So it changes. Someone just has to be there to you to tell you that.
So could you tell us more about your vision for the future?
My only goal is to make maternal mental health screening mandatory in India. I'm hoping that I ever get to reach out to agencies or production houses where this conversation, where people can create ads, social media campaigns, or movies on mental health. Just imagine what Chichore, that movie, did. It created such a huge awareness on suicide and study pressure, etc. Imagine a movie like this. It can educate masses. So that, and through my workshops, it's basically to build a support community, a listening circle, which is what I'm doing. It's very small right now, but I hope to be able to create a support group where, if once you deliver and you need support, you know where to come and you get everything that you need there. So yeah, to be able to touch more moms' lives, support families to the best of my ability.